I have traveled so far seeking God, but only when I gave up completely and turned around, there He was, present within me. This is a beautiful 14th century poem by a priest. And this coincides with a Zen dialogue between the first patriarch and the second patriarch. The second patriarch, Thay, came to study with the first patriarch, Bodhidharma. For a while, then he asked the first patriarch a question. Master, my mind is not at peace. Please pacify my mind. And the Bodhidharma turned around and asked him, bring me your mind. I will pacify it for you. For a while, Thay couldn't find anything. And he replied, I have searched for my mind, but I haven't found anything. Then the Bodhidharma replied, there, I pacified for you already. Like before, I have said, I have shared, there are literally two kinds of meditation. A kind which has some kind of object, either the body or some kind of mental object. And another kind is that you completely let go of the object, objectless meditation. And when there is no searching, just like that, seeking God, when you completely drop off everything within your mind, then there it is, the God, the Buddha nature presents. So, in this, quite often that it's easier for one to meditate with some kind of object. For instance, the breath or the sensation of the body, such a thing like that, it's easy to grasp hold of. But when I say that you completely drop off all the objects, and it's kind of hard to apprehend because of the mind has a tendency to grasp hold of some kind of object. It's not that easy. And the open awareness represents kind of Zen meditation. And with the object, meditation represents vipassana. And we go a little bit into the mind and the consciousness. Did you ever question yourself that what is mind? I'm going to tell a story. I picked up the term vipassana romance from Joseph Goldstein. I couldn't remember the time I was in Burma, studying meditation there. I go along with the monks for alms food every morning. And there was a lady standing there, dinner the food every morning. And somehow she gave me a smile every time I passed by. At first, there wasn't any kind of impact in me at all. But then gradually, things, worked on me. And then one day I have a crazy idea that I'm gonna get acquainted with her. Now, this is the point of when I say vipassana romance. The mind did not stop right there. It started thinking, spiral upward. Oh, she's so beautiful. I think I want to be more intimate. Maybe I can marry her, bring her to the United States. Oh, but the Burmese is not that easy. They still closed country. So how can I get her? Oh, maybe I can go there, stay there, marry her, and maybe just live there. It's okay. So all kind of thinking spiral upward that kept me going and going nonstop for that whole day. And the next day, same thing. Went for alms round. But when I met her, everything turned to a different story. Holy macaroni. She's there, still the same person. But how bad she was. How unbeautiful she was, as opposed to yesterday that she was so beautiful. That is the example of the mind. And what is the consciousness? In Abhidharma, the only function of the consciousness is to know. That's it. It has nothing else to do but just knowing. Knowing. Whoever have read Anappana Sutta, the sutta about the breath, breathing, then there'll be analogy of the object, which is the breath, and then the subject, which is the knowing. The knowing never changes, but the object will changes all the times. So this story represents that, okay, two kinds of meditation, or two kinds of mental formation that the one which knows is the Buddha nature. The one which varies all the time, all kind of mental states and mental formations. That is just a regular mind, that which comprise the love, hate, anger, sad, happy, mindfulness, compassion, blah, 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 blah. All of that mental state has the nature to arise and pass away. And that's why they are not permanent. But the Buddha nature, the one that knows, never change. The one that knows presence in every state of changing phenomena. So if one can classify that, then one can understand that when I say that meditation with objective experience or a subject experience. So this is a exposition of me to greeting you all. My name is Tam. In Pali, I love Pali somehow. In Pali means bodhicitta. And the kind of eerie when I think of this is no coincidence at all. It might be some kind of predestined. Years ago, my email was mindful awakening. That was my email. And then somehow there was a group of Tibetan monks came to my temple. I'm always curious about the practices, so I stick with them a lot. In that group, there was only one monk that spoke English fluently. The rest from 1 to 9. But one monk, he came to me, pointed at me, you, bodhicitta. Well, I kept that in mind, but it's okay. Until that I ordained, my ordained master gave me the Dharma name bodhicitta. And that was like 15-20 years later from that incident. So I don't know if that monk has some kind of psychic power that he saw it first, and that's why that he predicted me that okay, I'm going to be a monk with the Dharma name bodhicitta. So anyway, this is a short story. So now, before you can throw a lot of hard questions on me, I would like to ask you one question. Why are you here? What is your motivation of being here? Volunteer?
Suffering.
Uh-huh.
To Suffering.
Oh, suffering. Oh, sounds great. Suffering is a great tool.
Yep.
Yes, yes,
Motivated.
yes, yes. Anyone else?
To learn how to calm my mind.
Learn how to calm the mind. Yes, of course.
I like to be here because I like to learn Buddha teaching and I like to practice.
Okay, learning and the practice of Buddhism. Yes. Anyone else? Yes, please.
I like to learn how to be happy with myself.
Be happy with yourself. Yes.
Practice mindfulness.
Oh, cool. So, yes, young lady.
Just curiosity.
Curiosity. That's good. That's good. But all of your answers, I can combine it into one word: the mind. So, when you wanted to understand what mind is, naturally you have to sit down, observe it, and see what's going on. And from there you learn. And then you can relieve your suffering. You can learn about happiness. You can learn about Buddhism, meditation, and it can answer your curiosities, of course. I guess that's done enough for my talking. Now it's your to have some comments, some questions. And by the way, English is not my native language. So, sometimes I mumble jumble, sometimes I stutter because of the synapse joints in the brain doesn't work well, and sometimes so I might find something uncontrollable speaking. Actually, yes, I can sense that within me. So please feel free to ask questions. Thank you.
What is the name of your temple? Is it the Vietnamese?
I was ordained in Bodhi Temple in Boston, and then because of the abbot here that goes away on the hermit retreat, so I'm filling in the gap.
Because you mentioned Joseph Goldstein, that's where his Insight Meditation Center is.
Yes,
there
IMS is
very-
right there next to our Bodhi Meditation Center, about an hour and a half away.
Oh.
Yes.
So you're gonna be with us for 3 months then?
Yes. I'm gonna give you some kind of suffering,
Just what you want.
I'm gonna keep coming.
and then now remember that a suffering that leads to more suffering, and then another kind of suffering that leads to liberation. So it's your choice. Yes, please.
When you mentioned about the beautiful lady who was giving the alms,
Yes,
so in your story, it was the same lady the second day, right?
right.
So can you explain why it was so different the 2 days? Or?
Impermanent. Because the regular mind, the finite mind is impermanent. It can pick on this kind of end result today, and then tomorrow is different end result. It never stays the same. It's just like that. Just like that, your emotions that today you're happy, but the next day somehow you're sad. And then the next day you're in love. Don't know why. See? So, but that kind of mental state never stays the same. No, never stay the same. So this watch it, observe it, and then let it go. Yes.
I like that chant. How did we do? Were we way off?
Okay, there are two, in Buddhism, there are two schools that survived through the 2600 years. That is the Northern School and the Southern School. And the Southern School, we call it the Elder Order or Vipassana or Theravada. And then the Northern School, we call Mahayana. And the Southern School, somehow they still kept the tradition of the old common language from northern India, which is the Pali. And in Theravada traditions, they chant Pali all the times. And I happen to practice Vipassana, so I learned some of those. Yes.
Should we try to learn or just go with what we did today?
No, it's okay. I just want I just want you to explore more, that there are more varieties instead, and then we can go with the current, with what you have done here that so you're familiar with. Yes.
I liked it.
Yes.
May I ask where you were born and where you grew up?
I was born in Vietnam, and then when things came out so ugly that I had to escape, anyway, I spent a year and a half in refugee camp, and then I came to the United States. Just like everybody else, I grew up with a vision, with an objective that gonna try to get a degree, have a job, getting married, and then possibly later getting divorced. But it did not come out the way I expected. So I turned to Buddhism as I was in pain a lot. Yes. So somebody looked at me as a bad situation, that okay, because of I'm this, and that's why it turned me to this. But I'm looking at a different way, because of your karma, that you are destined to be a monk. And then somehow the karma is going to work its way through you, so it can turn you to be a monk, because you're destined to be a monk. So my bad situation, when I look at it, I say, oh, thank you, karma, for having me in that bad situation. It's just like a awakening bell. So when you recognize that you're suffering, that is an awakening bell within you. Nothing's wrong with that. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy for you. And I'm happy for you that you're trying to look for a happy way in life. Yes, please.
Yes, you mentioned about objective walking meditation, and you gave us the example. And then you mentioned that there's also, I think you called it objectless
Yes.
walking meditation. And that's a little hard for me to understand. And maybe sometime in the future or whenever, are you gonna be able to explain that? Or do you
Yes, of
do,
course.
uh,
Of course, of course, it's 99.9% when you are awake after a sleep. You're using concept and perception. And concept and perceptions have no way to understand the objectless. It has, perception cannot grasp hold of what is the Buddha nature is, what the Buddha nature is. But for a while, when you practice, you calm the mind down. When there are not too much of agitation in the mind becomes clearer, and then you can feel, you can sense that, oh, this is the Buddha nature. It's within you. And no matter what, you can't deny it because it's right there. Yes,
What is the Buddha nature?
what is that Buddha nature? In a simple term, just the knowing. The knowing state of mind, just to know. Very simple, but it's very hard to grasp hold of, to apprehend what is knowing. Because as of right now, when I'm speaking, you have a kind of attention toward me, to listen, to hear what I'm saying, and then you try to, I try to convey, and then you try to understand. That trying is the work of the mind, the working normal mind. And once working normal mind is working like that, it's very hard to grasp hold of. But let's say that, okay, right now, it doesn't matter when I'm talking, what I'm talking. You just drop me off your channel. You go back to your, let's say that, zero channel. When you go back, don't ask a question. Don't do anything. Just be motionless mentally. If you can do that, then you can recognize that there is the Buddha nature because it is right there. No deny. No can deny. It's right there.
Is it the same as so when you're angry, then you're aware that, then you get to be aware that you're angry?
Yes, very much. When you're angry is a state of mind,
Yes.
the mental state.
Mhm.
And then there is awareness that awares that there is a state of mind which is angry. So very much, it is happening right now, like a oneness, that the angry and the awareness right there. But right now, it might be hard to separate because of if one wanted to understand what the exactly Buddha nature, then one will have to separate itself that, okay, this is the solely awareness, solely knowing, and this is the mental state of being angry.
Before you start reacting.
That's fine, that's fine, yeah. Before you start reacting, okay? Yes,
His birthday is today.
huh?
Is it your birthday? Because there's a sign outside.
No.
Buddha's birthday. There's a
It's,
sign.
it's the Buddha's birthday, Buddha's birthday, okay?
Was it Sunday? Or was it
Oh,
a week?
no, actually in the full moon of April, but there's no exactly because the Buddha passed away 2,600 years ago, and there was no calendar, so they just picked up something represented as the Buddha's birthday. So
Oh.
Non-attachment, yeah?
Oh, happy birthday. Thank you.
The Buddha's birthday.
Oh,
yes,
This is my first time,
yes.
and I'm just curious. So what is all the fruit for?
Oh, in the altars this, I don't know when it came, but there are always 5 kinds to offer to the Buddha. That is the incense, the candle, the fruit, the flowers, and the water. So there are always 5 kinds. But I guess that during the Buddha time that there wasn't such a thing like that, because of in Burma, the altars are very, very simple, extremely simple. In the morning, the nun, they came out, they see some branch of a tree, kind of pretty branch. They just broke it off and then they offer it to the Buddha. There wasn't even flowers in the altar. So this is it might be the tradition that come out from China, but they all have some kind of meanings in that, just like that the candle represents for wisdom, and then the fruit represents for impermanence because the fruit decays, such a thing like that. Yes. And one thing, I'm not a scholar, so many things, such a thing like that, I don't know much. But the thing is, when I was in Bhavana Society under the guidance of Bhante Guru Ratana, every day around 3 to 4 o'clock, I love that hours because of the gathers just like this one, asking a question. But the thing that had the most impact on me is that the question always involved in some kind of practice, some kind of personal practice. Just like that, okay, today I ask you to sit and observe, and how is it? How is your meditation today? Do you have a reaction for your pain? Do you have a question? Oh, this new monk, who is he? Such a thing like that. And if you do, and then you can observe it, that's fine. And but make sure that you observe it. Don't leave out anything. It's just like a radar that it covers the whole spectrum, 360 degrees. That is meditation. The attitude of meditation is to observe. Don't leave out anything. And from there, your mind becomes sharper. You go deeper in stages, And then you can find something else, something more wonder about the mind. It's beautiful and yet ugly, and there are so many things about the mind that we need to explore. And the more that you understand the mind, the less suffer you are. That's what it is. Can you see that you wiggle your toes? Can you feel that you wiggle your toe?
Yes.
Okay, observe that. Sometimes, listening to me is no good, because I would rather you listen to yourself. A person asked Ajahn Chah, "You don't speak English. Your disciples don't speak Thai. How can you communicate?" And he said, "There's no need to understand. You just need to listen. You just purely listen with your wholehearted, you mindful listen. That's good enough. There's no need to understand what I say." So that is meditation. Going back to yourself. Going back, observe, see what is going on. That is meditation. Yes, please.
Yeah, should we address you as Thai? I don't speak Vietnamese, so it's always been a little confusing to me, some of the forms of speech.
See that when I came to Burma to study, there are very few who can speak English. And how do I communicate? I just listen without the need of understanding. So when you come here, if nobody speaks English with you, you just listen. And that is the act of meditation. There's no need to understand, just listen. In Bahia Sutta, I have 5 minutes to tell this story. He was a wealthy merchant, and then in one occasion that all of his merchandise went down because of the tsunami or something that all destroyed his merchants, even his clothes. He didn't have any kind of clothes at all, so he tear a bark to cover himself. And then the village people saw him like that. Somehow he thought he was a great yogi. So they revere him as a great man, a holy man. And he thought, "Oh, this is good. I'm a holy man." So he indulged himself in all kind of things. But then, as impermanence kicked in, he said, "This is boring. I need to do something else instead of instead of taking the fame of holy man, but I'm nothing. By good fortune that he had a friend who was a deva above. That deva friend came down and told him, Bahia, you are not a holy man at all. You're just an ordinary man, just like all other people. But there is the Buddha, the enlightened one is in arms round over there, blah, 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 blah. Go seek him, and then he'll give you some advice. So he took it seriously. He walked quite a distance to find the Buddha. And he found the Buddha on the way going arms around. And he asked the Buddha, please show me the way to relieve my suffering. The Buddha said, wait, let me finish my lunch, come back to the compound, then I'll show you the way. But he said, no, I can't wait anymore. I might die now before I can hear your teaching. But the Buddha said, no, you're not going to die right now. Don't worry, wait a little bit. But he kept insisting until the third time. The Buddha said, okay, but here, listen carefully to my teaching. And this is the punchline. When you hear this, maybe some of you get enlightened, okay? In seeing, there is just seeing. In hearing, there is just hearing. In smelling, there is just smelling. In tasting, there is just tasting. In bodily sensation, there is just bodily sensation. Nothing else added in. Upon hearing that, he got enlightened. So the story ends there. And I hope that you use your sixth sense door wisely to comprehend the story of Bahia, and then you get enlightened. And then you can come back and save me. Anything else? I would like to offer a chant to you all. It's in Pali, okay? Bhavatu Sappa Mangalang, Rakantu Sappa Devata, Sappa Buddha, Sappa Dhamma, Sappa Sangha, Nasada Soti, Bhavan today. May all the good fortune comes to you. May the abode, the Devas, protects you. By the virtuous power of the Buddha, by the virtuous power of the Dhamma, by the virtuous power of the Sangha, may you attain peace and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.